Hello everybody, thanks for joining me. Today I'm tying a classic wet fly pattern called the Quill Pennell. The hook I've got in the vise is a Hanak H200 size 14 wet fly hook. My thread is UTC 70 in black, and for the tails I'm going to be using some golden pheasant tippets. For the body, some stripped peacock herl, and for the hackle, this is a black Whiting Farms hen cape, really lovely hackles, very recommended. We're also going to need some clear and some black varnish. So I'm going to tie in my thread just behind the hook eye, make a few turns backwards to secure, and trim off the excess. Now I'm going to take a small pinch, about 8 to 10 fibres of the golden pheasant tippet, and I want to tie these in so that the tails are about a body length and that the black bar starts just at the butt of the fly where the body ends. I'm happy with the length, so I'm going to tie that back down the length of the hook shank in nice touching turns, trying to keep the feather fibres on top of the hook shank. I'm happy with the positioning, so I'm going to bring my thread back forwards, making nice touching turns and building up a smooth underbody. Once we've reached the tie-in point, I can come in with my scissors and snip away the excess. And I'm just going to make a few more turns to tidy up the ends of those feathers. I'm spinning my thread flat here for better coverage. So, with that nice smooth underbody laid, I'm ready to tie in my body material, that stripped peacock quill. I've taken this from just below the eye of the peacock, because I think that gives the best definition between the light edge and the dark edge, and you'll see in a second that I'm tying it in with the dark edge facing upwards. That way, when I wrap it along the hook shank, because I'm going to be wrapping away from myself, the dark edge will be towards the tail of the fly, and that means that as I wrap forwards, if I accidentally overlap a little bit, I won't be masking that dark edge, which is what's going to give the definition for our segments. Here once again you'll see my stubborn refusal to use any hackle pliers, as I use the rotary function on my vise to make some nice even touching wraps, being very careful to avoid the hook point. If you touch this peacock herl against the hook point and nick it, it will just tear straight across and you'll have to start over with a new quill. The herl gets wider as you come towards the base, and that gives the effect of increasing segments as you work up the body of the fly. There's no thorax on this pattern, so I can take the herl quite high up towards the head of the fly, and here I'm making a few tight wraps to secure down, and covering up the ends. Since the peacock herl is such a fragile material, it's very much worth protecting it with a coat of varnish, and this makes it look absolutely lovely as well. See how having that wet effect varnish on it intensifies the colours and the contrast. I've cut away the drying time here so you're not staring at a half-finished fly for 3 minutes. And we're going to tie in the hackle. I'm using a cross-wrap technique. I've stripped away the barbs from the bottom of the stem, and we can tie it in and trim away the excess stem. Let's secure that down, and this is just about long enough that I can get away without using a hackle plier again. I'm going to sweep the barbs backwards towards the tail of the fly and make about 3 wraps of hackle to build up a nice umbrella-shaped wet fly hackle. This absolutely springs to life in the water, lots of pulsation, lots of movement, it's really attractive. I've made my 3 wraps, so I'm coming over, making a few tight turns on top, and doubling over the waist to secure it down. I'm happy with the head on the fly, so I'm going to come in with my whip finisher and tie off. Before I snip away the thread, I'm going to use it as a bit of extra support to break off the excess feather and then trim away. To finish off, I'm going to use a little bit of varnish on the head of the fly. I'm going to use a black lacquer, and you'll see that I just put it all over the hook eye and all over the head of the fly. I'd much rather do that and clean out the hook eye than get it all up in the feathers and mat those down. So I've built up a nice little coat of varnish, and here I'm using a bit of stripped hackle stem as a pokey thing to clean out the hook eye. Easier to do it now whilst the varnish is wet than later on the riverbank when it's dry and your hands are cold. There we go, that's all clean. So, give this one a go. It's a lovely traditional wet fly, and only 3 materials, so no excuse not to. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.